Have you ever watched A Winter's Tale or read The Winter's Tale and been like, why is it like that? Well, you're in the right place because me too. So I would like to just discuss a little bit about why that might be and my running theory as to what's up with The Winter's Tale. In case you're watching this with no previous knowledge of William Shakespeare's The Winter's Tale, let me give you a little bit of background. So The Winter's Tale is a Shakespeare play that people are a little bit unsure about the title. Some people call it The Winter's Tale, some people call it A Winter's Tale, and other people just call it Winter's Tale. The Winter's Tale seems to be the most common one, but I'll probably be alternating throughout all of them in this video. The main plot of the play, summarized in a very brief amount of time, is that a man gets very upset that his wife is close friends with another friend of his from a different island. Throughout the summary of The Winter's Tale, I will not use any character names because when I was recording this, it was late at night and I kind of forgot all character names. Hopefully you can keep up. However, I'm here to say specifically that it is not a different island. They are both on the coast of Bohemia, and the man who has a wife who he thinks is cheating on his friend is the king of Sicily, I think, who has one part of the coast of Bohemia, and the other guy is the king of Bohemia who has the other part of the coast of Bohemia. So I think that that's what's going on. And he gets very upset about this to the point where he believes his wife is cheating on him, at which point his wife is thrown in jail and she dies in jail. However, she gives birth to his heir, who is also immediately cast out. Then this happens in acts 1 and 2, and between the second and third act we have a time skip wherein a character known as Time shows up and narrates the fact that 16 years have passed. The baby ends up on an island belonging to the friend of her mom's and her dad's, who her dad is estranged with now because he thought that his wife was cheating on him with him. This girl, she ends up on this island. She's raised by a fisherman and his son, whose name is the Clown. When my girlfriend and I went to see The Winter's Tale in June 2024, we decided to name the clown Eric because he just gave Eric vibes to us. So she ends up here and she lives in this very nice place, blah blah blah. She meets this guy, she falls in love with him. Turns out this guy is the son of the guy that her dad thought her mom cheated on him with. They want to get married, but this one guy, he's a noble, and his dad is like, you need to marry somebody who is in our, range and status. And he's like, no, but I want to marry this commoner. So they're like, okay, we're gonna get married. And then they decide, all right, well, if we want to get married and we don't think we're allowed to get married, let's just run away. So they run away and they end up in the island that this girl is originally from. And I'm not even sure if they're islands. I think it might just be countries. I have a feeling they're islands, but I'm not sure about that. And so they end up there, and then it's revealed suddenly that this girl is who she is, and there's a statue of her mom commissioned. Her dad has been depressed for 16 years because he feels bad about what he did. And then the statue of her mom that was commissioned comes to life, and her mom's there again. Anyway, that's the end of the show. You might think, oh, well, it's Shakespeare, it's a little wacky, it's a little weird, whatever. Right, well, it doesn't feel like Shakespeare. At least the first two acts don't feel like Shakespeare at all. And then once you do the time skip after 16 years, it all of a sudden feels like very normal classic Shakespeare. It feels a lot like a very happy production of As You Like It, or it has feelings of Much Ado About Nothing. It has that joviality of those shows, and it very much feels like a pastoral comedy. Except it's not, because at the beginning there are deaths and banishments and jails and long sad monologues, and you're looking at this and you're like, this doesn't feel like Shakespeare, what is this? So a lot of scholars are like 99% sure that he stole the original idea for the Winter's Tale from someone else. And now this is a fact that I've known for a very long time, because I went to a summer camp that was all about Shakespeare, and they told you Shakespeare's first review was a bad one. Shakespeare's first review was by a man named Robert Greene, and The Winter's Tale is a lot like one of Robert Greene's own plays. So Robert Greene died, and Shakespeare just kind of swept in and was like, I'm gonna make your thing, but better. I think that that's why it feels so weird and disconnected. I have to eat dinner now. I have rehearsal in half an hour, so let's pass that over to future Julia and see where we go from there. Future Julia? Thanks, past Julia. Now, unlike that guy, I have done research, and my research is relatively inconclusive, actually. So it turns out that it's kind of hard to look for scholarly articles on why the Winter's Tale is like that, because most scholars that are writing about the Winter's Tale understand it and are quite into it, actually. And I get it, because if somebody were to ask me, why is Cymbeline like that, or why is Twelfth Night like that, or why is Romeo and Juliet like that, I would be able to answer that with a lot more certainty, and I probably wouldn't be super interested in writing about why it's like that because I already understand it, and I would probably be more interested in things like character motivations, or symbolism, or how cool this one plot point is. Suffice to say, what I got was mostly what I already knew. However, I have a little bit more information on this now. Yes, The Winter's Tale was based off of a comedy that Robert Greene wrote, and his play seemed to follow the same kind of structure. A lot of scholars are under the impression from the articles that I read that Shakespeare was attempting to experiment with story structure and different dichotomies of how that could work by doing a very reflected story wherein you start in one place, you have this middle place that goes into the end place, which is also the beginning place, which I didn't explain very well, but that's okay. If you're here for deep explanations, I clearly don't have the answers. Anyway, so it might have been partially because he stole the play. It might have also been because he was just trying some things experimentally. While doing research, I also found out that Cymbeline, The Winter's Tale, and The Tempest were all written in a row. So they were all written at approximately the same time, and they all have very weird vibes. That's the best way I can describe it. I would say that The Winter's Tale has the weirdest vibes and The Tempest has the least weird vibes, but they still do all have very weird vibes, and they were all likely written to be performed in an indoor theater. The Winter's Tale was either written right before Cymbeline or right after Cymbeline, because the time in which it was performed was somewhere between 1609 and 1611. The Tempest was performed between 1610 and 1611, and Cymbeline was performed in 1610. So The Winter's Tale was either written between Cymbeline and The Tempest or right before the two of them, which means that it also might have been one of the first plays that Shakespeare performed after the globe burned down. So there are a lot of reasons why The Winter's Tale might be weird, but there are no conclusive answers that I was able to find, which is very upsetting for me because, truth be told, I really like that pastoral bit in the middle of The Winter's Tale. I think that that's so fun, and when I watched it this summer, I was having the time of my life. I was leaning over to my girlfriend and nerding out and being like, "Oh my god, this is exactly like this thing in the I was saying things like, "Oh my god, I can't believe that this clown never got a name, because a lot of fools, for example, Feste in Twelfth Night originally didn't have a name, but then afterwards were named in hindsight." I was having a great time in that portion of the play, but the beginning of the play was really slow. To be completely honest, the start of the play, if I were to say any show that reminds me of that would be King Lear. Like it has those weird deep emotions and those like themes of betrayal. I think The Winter's Tale is absolutely fascinating, but it is so strange for a Shakespeare play because there are very few, if any, that are like it. And I'm a little flabbergasted about the whole thing because I don't know what to make of it. Anyway, whatever it may be that makes The Winter's Tale like that, I would recommend that you look into it. I'm not the biggest fan because the tone shift is too extreme for me, but I do think it's a fascinating show and it is truly interesting to look at because on the one hand, it is taking someone else's show and Shakespeareing it up. It follows all the same beats and has like the same type of storyline. Shakespeare just took it and was like, I'll make it my own. I find it interesting in the way that I want to put it in a lab and study it. I don't find it particularly interesting in wanting to go watch it. Maybe that was just the performance that I happened to go to, but other but after intermission was when it got interesting, and before then I was kind of annoyed, especially because you go into The Winter's Tale and you know that it's a comedy, and then you start off with a tragedy. It is so intriguing. I love the idea of it. I think there's so much to uncover and to learn from it, and the more I talk about it, the more I seem to enjoy it because I just want to know what was going through Shakespeare's head. He said, I'm going to steal this guy who didn't like me show. I'm going to make it my own. And let me do some light experimentation on how I do my shows. And then he didn't really come back to that. He didn't do another show that felt like that had two such extremes split down in the middle. There are a lot of comedies that have really serious points in the show. Like, for example, Much Ado About Nothing has a moment where Beatrice tells Benedict to kill Claudio, and that is serious, right? It can easily become a tragedy at that moment, and then it doesn't. But that's just a couple of scenes, and the comedy part of it still somehow remains in that universe. And then you have shows like The Merchant of Venice, where it is a comedy, but it's very serious. I mean, the main plot centers around getting a pound of flesh off a man. Like, that is a very serious plot. There are these like very dark tones in that, but it's something that happens throughout. It's not like the show breaks halfway through and is like, just kidding, that doesn't matter. No, it's a persisting line throughout the show. Same with Measure for Measure. It's full of trickery and deception and weediness, but it's still there throughout the whole show. Needless to say, I don't know why The Winter's Tale is like that, but I think that it's one of those shows that I would like to take apart and learn more about. Sorry that this video has been a little bit random, split down the middle, different vibes, a lot like a play. I don't know which one. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Goodbye for now. I'm gonna be so real, I kind of forgot how this happened. I should not be making a video about this. I'm having fun though. Are you having fun? I hope you're having fun.